Let's explain those Badlands. That's a hell of a name.
Mr. Vice President, I'm going off script again, I know, but I just want to personally thank you. We've been through some stuff. We've gone through some of the most complex military operations this country's ever conducted, and your steady hand and your leadership during those was a great source of strength for me. Thank you for your leadership. Thank you for your character. Thank you for your selfless service. Thank you for commitment. Thank you for being a mentor to me, Mr. Vice President.
It's called the swamp. And you know what happened? And you know what I did? A big favor. I caught the swamp. I caught them all. Let's see what happens. Nobody else could have done that but me. I caught all of this corruption that was going on, and nobody else could have done it. Did I get that one right? Every 4 years, we gather on these steps to carry out the orderly and peaceful transfer of power. Today's ceremony, however, has very special meaning, because today we are not merely transferring power from one administration to another, but we are transferring power from Washington, D.C., and giving it back to you, the people. For too long, a small group in our nation's capital has reaped the rewards of government, while the people have borne the cost. Washington flourished, but the people did not share in its wealth. This American carnage stops right here and stops right now. The forgotten men and women of our country will be forgotten no longer. From this day forward, a new vision will govern our land. From this day forward, it's going to be only America first.
This is a president of the United States who is a danger to the republic.
America first.
He knows he's an illegitimate president.
The oath of office I take today is an oath of allegiance to all Americans.
The great Trump recovery.
America will never be a socialist country. I will fight for you with every breath in my body.
Russia, Russian, pro-Russian, Russian, the Russians.
Russia.
And I will never, ever let you down.
A dangerous virus is spreading rapidly in China, and U.S. officials are very worried that it could come here.
This is really the worst attack we've ever had. This is worse than Pearl Harbor. This is worse than the World Trade Center. There's never been an attack like this.
The time for empty talk is over. Now arrives the hour of action. What they're doing is using COVID to steal an election. Together, we will make America strong again. You know what it's about? Fraud, fake ballots. We will make America wealthy again. They are trying to steal the election.
Now, under the leadership of President Trump, we are fully realizing President Kennedy's prescient view of Special Operations Forces.
We will make America proud again. And watch, please, those mail-in ballots. We will make America safe again. And in millions and millions of ballots. Their vote is under what they thought they needed. They're dumping more ballots in there, okay? And yes, together, we will make America great again. Thank you. God bless you. If we are right about the fraud, Joe Biden can't be president.
Congress, the chair declares the joint session dissolved.
All right. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Saturday edition of the Devolution Power Hour. Chris, Patrick, how are you guys doing?
I'm living the dream right here in lovely Fort Worth, Texas, where I come to visit very often to pick up massive amounts of product from Badlanders who make it for us. And also, I do all sorts of stuff in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. I have to come up here about once a month.
You have a regular Paper Street house from Fight Club. You are both Ed Norton and Brad Pitt.
I am both the dude named Cornelius and Tyler Durden, and it's just a great feeling.
That is pretty incredible. You should have them start making soap.
I'm not even going to quote the movie because I'm not going to say that, but that was a great quote about the movie.
Well, why not say the quote?
Because I'm not going to say that, because number one, I'm not using human fat in my soaps. And number two, I don't particularly think that my customers have fat asses. However, I do enjoy the line that we were selling their own fat asses back to them. However.
Well, interesting start to the show already. As you can see, I'm not at home either. I'm in Fargo. Tonight's the big North Dakota, South Dakota football game.
Oh, wow.
And my girlfriend's brother is playing. He's been back from injury for the first time in like 6 weeks. So pretty excited to go to that.
Position did he play?
What position?
Yeah.
Wide receiver.
Kick ass.
Yeah.
Very, very, very athletic family.
Yeah, definitely.
Did you hear Trump talk about playing tight end this week?
Was that this week? He was on that. Yeah. Did you hear what he said? Where he's like, I don't get to watch much football because if I would be, I'd be derelict to my duties.
Yeah, that was pretty awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. Something we say on here a lot. We talked about that on Wednesday's show a little bit, but he's had some major, I feel like this week has been a lot of comms, like a lot of just direct things that we've been talking about. Even the Al Smith dinner, that don't clip, like that joke nobody got, didn't land.
You got to play it now.
Well, I don't even have his pulled up, but I have this.
Don't.
So good.
I think.
Don't.
So, yeah, I initially didn't understand why that was a big deal when Ghost was saying it to you. I was like, yeah, Biden said that. Whatever. Doesn't everybody get that? And I'm like, wow, everyone doesn't, because you'd basically have to be a fan of Badlands to have seen that enough times to think it was even relevant.
I know. So it's very interesting. And I might be able to get this saved. So you guys can talk while I do this.
We don't have any positive proof that Donald Trump watches Badlands, but we have some pretty strong indications. My personal biggest indication was when he said, "I hate Taylor Swift." Donald Trump waited a good, respectful 12 hours before plagiarizing me.
But you're the only person who's ever said those words.
Okay. Now, I appreciate the hilarious sarcasm, but really think about it, John. How many times has Taylor Swift how many times has Donald Trump said, "I hate," and then a person?
I mean, if you want, I can literally look this up.
I've already done the work, and the answer is 0.
Really?
Yes. How many times have I, previous to saying "I hate her," said on the air, "I hate a person"? Never. It hasn't happened. I called her a dude. I called her a man witch. And I said, "I hate her." 12 hours later, Donald Trump, for the very first time, tweets, "I hate someone." And he tweets, "I hate Taylor Swift." He was watching, and he said, I'm gonna shout him out in my own special way.
Don't.
I don't know, man. Could be.
We've
had a few.
I think when he had a terrible joke at the Al Smith dinner, the fact that he instantly recognized it was a terrible joke and made fun of the joke, that's comedy gold. That's excellent. That's Norm Macdonald stuff.
And the writers too. Yeah, that was pretty good. I thought he did pretty darn good at that dinner. And I can't believe Kamala didn't show up. And that video they played, was so awful.
I had to cringe myself into a different dimension.
Was that on when? No, that was Thursday. Maybe we should Maybe we should talk some Al Smith clips.
But we definitely could. I'm totally down to do that. I also want to talk about Dave Ramsey a little bit, and maybe I'm just taking it a little too personally, but I feel like we're going to see more of that stuff coming out. No, let me start with that. Actually, let me show this Dave Ramsey. Have you seen this, Patrick?
I saw the gist that he's going to vote for Trump. Cancel me if you dare. You hard to cancel me when I own the show, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. I got real offended. I don't know why. But what, Chris?
Oh, I was just going to say maybe we should drop an ad in there so that we can get that out of the way. But also, you know, the Taylor Swift thing, I think was apart from Trump quoting Patrick, I think that it was really interesting strategically because we were led to believe by the mainstream media and by the quote unquote Harris campaign that was a really big endorsement. It was going to get all these voters out to register and then vote for Kamala Harris. And Trump can just go out there and say that he hates the world's biggest pop star and absolutely nothing happens. I think that's
kind of drowned out now.
Yeah.
That's an interesting point.
They're trying to put together all these little micro demographics to form a coalition or the perception of a coalition. Because Trump basically has the disaffected voter. That's his coalition. And that's like 80% of the country. And so to counter that, Kamala Harris or whoever is filling that role has to get all of these little micro demographics. And that's why she goes on these strange podcasts and she can say, you know, this podcaster has 2 million followers and I appeared on this. Donald Trump can't reach this demo at all. They have the trans people and like single cat ladies. That's their new thing. And so they put together like 20 different micro demographics and say, look at our coalition. Look at the variety of all these people. And it's like, okay, well, that's still only like 5% of the country. So
tops.
I like watching that stuff.
Patrick, let's do our first two sponsors of tonight's show, and then we'll get into the Ramsey clip and then some of the Al Smith stuff. And we got a whole bunch of other topics we'll get into tonight, but let's talk
about our amazing partners, CB Distillery.
I'll play it for you here.
Let me get I put them at the top. Let me guess, your medicine cabinet is crammed with stuff that doesn't work. You still aren't sleeping, you still hurt, and you're stressed out. That's how it was for me. So I cleared out my cabinet and reset my health with CBD from CB Distillery. It's been a real change. CB Distillery's targeted formulations are made from the highest quality, clean ingredients. No fluff, no fillers, just pure, effective CBD solutions designed to help support your health. In two non-clinical surveys, 81% of customers experienced more calm. 80% said CBD helped with pain after physical activity, and an impressive 90% said they slept better with CBD. If you struggle with a health concern and haven't found relief, make the change like I did to CB Distillery. And with over 2 million customers and a solid 100% money-back guarantee, CB Distillery is the source to trust. I have a 20% discount to get you started. Visit cbdistillery.com and use code DPH for 20% off. That's cbdistillery.com, code DPH, cbdistillery.com.
Awesome. We got some Field of Greens as well.
Everybody's talking about those weight loss injections because the results are so dramatic. The injections work by lowering blood sugar and reducing appetite. But what if you need to lose weight, but you don't have the money and you don't like weekly shots? That's why doctors created a weight loss supplement called Lean, and the results are remarkable. The studied ingredients in Lean have been shown to lower your blood sugar, burn fat by converting it into energy, and curb your appetite and cravings so you're not as hungry. But listen, Lean is not for the casual dieter with only a few pounds to lose. The doctors at Brickhouse Nutrition created Lean for frustrated dieters with 10 or more pounds to lose. Let's get you started with 15% off and free rush shipping so you can add Lean to your healthy diet and exercise plan. Visit takelean.com and enter John15, that's Jon 15 for your discount. That's promo code John15 JON15 at TakeLean.
Awesome. And thank you to our sponsors. And thank you to you watching for supporting our sponsors, because that's a great way to support us. We'll have a couple more for you here a little bit later. I'm going to start with this Dave Ramsey clip to get my ranting and frustration out of the way, and then we can get into a few other things. Okay, here we go.
I'm looking at ideas and which ideas land on which side of the aisle. Where am I most likely going to get a tax policy I like, an immigration policy I like, a foreign policy I like? Where am I most likely to get a gun policy I like, a climate change policy I like, a woke policy I like, that I agree with? Where am I most likely to get that? And I can check those boxes very clearly, very quickly on these two candidates. So I'm going to tell you, I'm voting for Donald Trump, not because I'm voting for Donald Trump. Are we going here? That's okay. But because I checked those boxes, and more of those are on that side than on the other side. Some of you are never going to listen to me again after this. That's okay. I can deal with that. That's happened to me for 30 years. People have threatened me that I'm going to cancel you. That's hard to do. I own the show. And so you're not going to get to cancel me. So you can leave, but you can't cancel me. I'm looking at.
All right. So right off the bat, like, I think it's great that he's coming out and publicly supporting Trump. Everybody coming out to support Trump is a good thing if you're going to do it public, especially the big people with big followings, whatever. It's his little comment at the end that rubbed me the wrong way about, like, he's so brave for doing it. Like, he's so proud of himself. He doesn't care if people cancel him. I was like, fuck you, dude. Like, where have you been these last 4 years? Like, we can't be on so many other platforms. We've been demonetized. We've been, like, put through so much shit for the last 4 years because we publicly supported Trump.
I don't think it gets said enough. There's canceled and then there's canceled. Scott, here's something that rubs me the wrong way. Scott Adams running around pretending he's been canceled. And I suppose from his $100 million in the bank, massive 10,000 square foot estate in Pleasanton, California, I suppose losing your ability to sell ads, losing your ability to write a cartoon for the New York Times feels like cancellation. But John has been kicked off of fucking PayPal, guys.
Not just me, but like Badlands generally. We can't operate on many of those
platforms. We can't operate anywhere. We can't have a YouTube channel without getting booted over and over and over again. We can't have, many of us get our asses debanked. Freaking guys, there are forms like payment platforms that just randomly shut us down. It's real cancellation. There's no real cancellation going on for Dave Ramsey. Now, we always can take a beat and say, hey, Dave, we'll keep an eye on you and see if you get real canceled. And also, to be fair, Dave Ramsey was a famous media personality, and he has been for decades. So he already had a platform coming in. And yes, being this late in the game, being a Johnny-come-lately to the We Are Pro-Trump movement is not super brave, because I think we're pretty much at the point where 80% of the population is either voting for Trump or strongly considering voting for Trump.
Yeah, when the betting markets are this, like, I think Polymarket, Trump is like a 20% lead. Like, it's reaching that point where it's almost socially acceptable to be pro-Trump. And Chris, you probably know this better than anybody with your Hollywood background and the friendships you've lost over this exact thing. Like, this guy isn't going to experience real cancel culture this close to the election with what we're about to go through. And that's the part that, like, don't play victim to me when you're going to come out and publicly support Trump. Just publicly support Trump and leave it at that. You're welcome to join our side, but save the little cancel culture, fuck you bullshit. Keep that to yourself.
Virtue signaling.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, man. I always wonder, like, why these people think that losing business is getting canceled. You know, like that your customers, I can't say the truth in front of these people because if I do, then I'm going to lose business. That to me is just weakness.
And he's admitted that's what he's been doing.
Yeah. I don't, yeah, I really don't know how heroic that is. And I'm sorry. I mean, you know, I feel wrong in some way saying these things about people like Dave Ramsey, who's probably just trying to be a nice guy and give people good advice. And I'm not saying he does give people good advice. I don't know how his advice is because I don't watch him. But, you know, the idea that everybody can just stay out of politics completely and then also bemoan the fact that things are falling apart doesn't make sense to me. You know, when they say that, like, this is the most important election ever and society is going to fall apart if Trump doesn't win this election, that stuff just, I don't know, man. It just falls flat for me when it's people who hadn't spoken up for 4 years.
I will say this. So my only personal like story about the advice that Dave Ramsey gives in terms of finances, like I've never followed his stuff, never watched his stuff. So maybe this is a little ignorant of me to say, but my own sister and her brother-in-law, he works at he's an engineer at a company, a pretty well-known company. I won't say what it is, but he was offered a match on his 401k up to 7.5%. So if he would put in 7.5%, they would match it. Okay. They decided to turn that down, like the free money, because Dave Ramsey said it was more important to pay off your interest deductible student loans first. And I was like, are you kidding me? He's like, yeah, this we've been listening to a lot of Dave Ramsey. This is the decision we're going to make until we get that paid off, and then we'll start accepting the match. I was like, holy shit, who is this Dave Ramsey guy?
Damn.
So not always good advice is what you're saying.
Oh,
I couldn't believe it.
I just, you know, I want to be fair to Dave Ramsey. Is there any chance they misinterpreted what he said? Because one of his aphorisms is one of the best investments you can make is in your own debt. But this is one of those cases where it's obviously not the best choice.
Yeah, I couldn't. I mean, I totally understand paying off debt, but you're also turning down technically free money.
Yeah.
But anyway, we don't need to get into that conversation.
Painful. Okay.
Patrick, you just said something about maybe 80% of the country being on board with either voting for Trump or seriously considering it. He had a really interesting comment the other night at the Al Smith dinner. And by the way, I ran through this yesterday on Badlands Daily. I think it's important for people to know. If you're watching, check out this transcript thing on the side over here, right? This is a YouTube page. You can see the transcript. The way to find this, it's down in the description. Often it'll begin like this and you'll have to hit more, and then it'll have show transcript. The transcript pops up. And then no matter what browser you're using, you can use the find command to search for keywords in the speech so that you can find the exact moment where whoever's in the YouTube video said a particular thing. So I wanted to pull this up. I searched half. Here it is. Just a good little trick for the researchers out there. But listen to what Trump says here.
Hey, you think this is easy standing up here and doing this in front of half a room that hates my guts and the other half loves me? Half of us love me, but maybe it's, I think 75% love me.
I caught that too. And that's a room full of elites. Like his base, like which one of you said that earlier? It's like the disaffected voter, right?
Oh yeah.
So yeah, I thought he did great. You know what? I have a compilation, and this is from Carly Bone on Twitter. And just even scrolling to find this took forever. I can't believe how much she posts. She's constantly posting stuff, but it's from the Gutfeld show, and they have a little compilation of the left and their reaction to Trump at the Al Smith dinner. And I think it's pretty good. So I want to play this.
You're a false witness to thy neighbor. Indeed. And some folks in the media aren't happy with former President Trump's speech.
Last night, his appearance at the Alfred E. Smith dinner was ridiculous. It was offensive, and it was way off the mark.
I thought that Donald Trump misread the room. I thought that he was undisciplined and mostly unfunny. He just missed the market. It was cringeworthy, and it was unnecessarily nasty.
He was nasty in his comments and frankly not very funny.
So is this Catholic Church event normalizing a guy who's already broken 11 of the 10 commandments?
And got darker and darker, where even some of his supporters, I'm not sure, found it all quite that funny.
Greg, I could not wait to sit down with you tonight.
All right. I mean, it's just so funny. Like, it's like we watched two different two different Trump appearances, but that's kind of how it works. You know, they most of their audience probably isn't going to watch it for themselves, so they're just going to take the media's word for it. And Trump was offensive and not funny at all, and none of his jokes landed. When I got a totally different impression on it.
I'm completely blown away that Kamala canceled. All you have to do is hire one of a billion different joke writers in Hollywood. You have access to the entire apparatus, and then all you need are fucking note cards and read the stupid jokes. It's that simple. Even Chuck Schumer is not going to be offended by Donald Trump saying, haha, you can be the first woman president. He knows these are friggin' staffers writing him some jokes. It is exactly like you're doing an awards show. Why did she skip it? Unless her campaign is deliberately imploding.
Well, I just think that after her interview with Brett Baer and how bad that went, like, could you imagine Kamala Harris trying to tell a joke? Like, telling a joke is half of its delivery, if not more of it. You know,
more than half. Yeah, no question.
Yeah. She can't deliver a joke.
That's the real tough thing about doing that live too. It's not like it's at one of her rallies or in a pre-recorded sketch. She actually has to get out there and say mean and dishonest things about Donald Trump in front of a room of people who are not going to take those jokes well. There's nobody in there who cared about defending Kamala Harris, and Trump didn't even really go after her. But she would have focused her whole time on Donald Trump, and the room would have been booing probably 3 jokes into it, I bet.
Just because she's so bad at it?
Because she's so bad at it, and they don't want to hear those jokes. Like, people are sick of hearing how Donald Trump is all these things that Donald Trump isn't. You know, like, having Donald Trump lied about to you live, I guess, seems maybe different. Posobiec the other night tweeted out that, you know, he always says he has these little White House sources, and whatever level of fakery or shillery people want to ascribe, all good. But he said that mega donors, that a White House official told him mega donors at the Al Smith dinner were beginning to wonder if Kamala Harris and the people around her were trying to lose on purpose.
Really?
Yep.
That is interesting. Like, I've never believed anytime he says like he's got a source from the White House that's saying all these things about Kamala Harris. Again, personally, I just think it's totally made up and just him pushing his own narrative he wants to push, whether it's true or not. It could be a totally true narrative, but, you know, describing that you have a source telling you these things gives it a little more credibility, supposedly. And that's what I think he's doing. But if it is genuine and somebody from the Kamala Harris team is actually leaking information to him, well, how? I don't get it. But if that's true, that's a interesting thing, trying to lose on purpose.
Well, you brought up the possibility that he might just be making it up, and that's entirely possible, but that also might just be the op, is that a lot of this shit in his fake campaign is made up.
It definitely is.
That's what it looks like, though. If she was trying to lose, how would it look different than what we're seeing right now? And I said the same thing about Joe Biden. When he was campaigning for president, in the 2024 campaign before he dropped out, try to think of a single appearance that didn't seem like soft disclosure or a candidate trying to be as clownish and ridiculous as possible. I mean, my God, we just recently had Kamala telling people who were saying Jesus is Lord, that they're at the wrong rally.
Yeah.
Do you think she actually heard what the person said when she responded that way?
I have no knowledge of anything ever. My entire world is based on vaguely understanding stories. That's what we have, you know, responsible people like you for, John. But the story definitely got out. She heard Jesus is Lord and says you're at the wrong rally.
Let's listen to it.
Yeah.
With the intention that they would undo the protections of Roe v. Wade, and they did as he intended. Oh, you guys are at the wrong rally. No, I think you meant to go to the smaller one down the street.
She thinks she's crushing it.
Yeah. I mean, could you imagine her at the Al Smith dinner trying to deliver jokes and like laughing at herself and nobody else laughs? Because like here people just cheer, they're paid to cheer at anything she says, everything she says, and they do so. That wouldn't happen at the Al Smith dinner.
I don't know. It's really bad. Although she delivered that line, "You're at the wrong rally," she delivered that fine. And she delivered, "You want the smaller one down the street." She delivered that fine. I didn't hear anybody shouting "Jesus is Lord," but I don't listen very well. I tried to hear it. I didn't hear anything. So I don't know what to make of that.
I've seen a couple of different videos. Somebody posted a video saying that they were there live. I mean, you know, it's possible that all this is an op. It's pretty clear, though, that that's what's being pushed out there. I mean, she could make a statement and say, "I absolutely wasn't saying that." But the only way to interpret that, if that is the exchange that occurred, is that she believes she is appealing to a very secular base who likes hearing that stuff. And I can speak to that as a former atheist. And not only that, I mean, the interpretation is she's essentially saying, like, Jesus isn't really welcome here. This isn't a Jesus thing. Go down the street where there's a Jesus thing. I don't know. That's a rough one, man.
Or the Catholic Church, or, you know,
the day after. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The timing of that is interesting, man. I didn't even think of that. But yeah, anyway, what were we going to get to next? Did you want to go through some more of those Al Smith clips?
Absolutely.
I mean, we don't have to. I'm down.
Yeah. I mean, I'm looking at now. We do have quite a few stuff to get through. I kind of want to get your guys' take on the committee thing that came up this week. We talked about this a lot on Wednesday and why it's a big devolution, proof. But then you said, Chris, that you have a Elon clip that plays well with it.
Yeah. Let's go. Should we watch that first?
Yeah. Let's watch the Trump.
Okay.
Trump one on Beck first.
Who's actually the president, Mr. President?
Well, I think it's a committee of people, and they might not even know who the committee is. They may not even know themselves. Does that make sense? It's a group of people that are in different levels of DC, and they surround a man that was not the most capable person.
Yeah.
By the way, never was.
Right.
But certainly not anymore.
Yeah.
And again, as we discussed on Wednesday, the reason I find this to be so big is the committee that is created by Executive Order 13961, one of the big, that's the Devolution Executive Order, Devolution Part 13. But yeah, I want to get your guys' take on this. And I know in the days since this, he's came out and clarified a little bit what he meant by this comment. I think it was on the Patrick Bet David, wasn't it, that he kind of clarified it?
I listened to that whole podcast, and I think that I would see those as Trump answering distinctly different questions.
Yeah.
In those responses. Are you talking about the response he gave where he said that it was like a group of really evil, malicious people?
Yeah.
Okay. So Patrick Bet David's question, I think, was different. He asked who the most powerful people in DC are. Who has the real power in Washington, D.C., which to me is different than who's running the country, who's president right now.
Yeah, I would agree with that for sure. Because like this comment here, again, is one of the more direct, I think, Devo comms that we've possibly ever gotten. Like nobody uses the word committee, but we've been saying it for 2 years. No offense, Patrick, to the "I hate Taylor Swift" thing. I know that's a pretty direct comm too, but like in terms of devolution, this is it.
Yeah. And remember, Executive Order 13961 creates the National Continuity Committee.
The Federal Mission Resilience Committee, yes.
It's a
John,
committee.
why don't we just go through your two screenshots there? I know people who listened on Wednesday have already heard it, but.
Yeah. So here, this is the initial part of the executive order. It's about continuity of government. It's based in the one of the authorities for this is the National Security Act of 1947, which if you go into that, it's war and national defense. So Trump right here is addressing continuity of government from the context of war and national defense. That's big too. Part 3 here, it creates the executive committee a Federal Mission Resilience Executive Committee, and they're tasked with facilitating the execution of the plan and other continuity policy. The plan is the strategy document that was released in conjunction with this. Again, all this is in Part 13, which we've gone over so many times. But to me, this is Trump directly addressing continuity, like this committee, this executive order. It's such a direct com. Like, I don't think we've seen anything this direct in maybe ever.
And I want to make sure everybody understands this executive order was issued December 7th, 2020.
Yep.
This is issued on Pearl Harbor Day after the stolen election. So this is a move directly related to something regarding the fact that he just had the election stolen and he's making all these moves. And he walked away. It doesn't look like it. Not with that. And he's telling us, he says, no, it's a committee, guys. Now, you can always interpret these comms more than one way. There's a normie interpretation, and then there's a devolution interpretation. The normie interpretation is very simple. It's a committee, of people who are not Joe Biden, because Joe Biden's shot. They needed to form some committee. And we know it's a lot more than that.
Yeah, it's the bicameral interpretation, which is honestly brilliant about it. But I think even Bernie Brett said on Wednesday when we were talking about this, it's like, Chris, you've been saying so long that Trump directly tells you the truth, and many times people just don't believe him. Like when he says, I'm a wartime president, he was telling you guys the truth. It was right there in front of everybody's faces, but people are like, no, there's no way. He didn't mean that. And you can speak to this better than I can. But this is another one of those instances. Like, he's telling the truth. There is a committee that's out there making all these decisions for the country, and it's the continuity government committee. It's the FMR committee. But people can interpret it as, well, it's just, a group of black hats running Joe Biden.
Yeah. I mean, people just assume that Donald Trump must be speaking in euphemism all the time. And I think that that's a real problem in general. Everybody just assuming that he means something else when he's saying these sorts of things. And I get that, like, the normie mind is accustomed to doing that. And I'm not calling people normies if that's their take on things. It's fine to have that take when it's appropriate. And everyone has to be their own judge of that. But when he says that he's a wartime president, and he talks about using the Alien Enemies Act of 1798, for instance, that requires something like that to be the case in order to use it, right? Mike Johnson said he was a wartime speaker, and we just say, no, these are euphemisms. He's just saying these things. Really? I mean, it's just so odd that we kind of adopt the thought process of the enemy in these scenarios, where they frame Donald Trump and what he's saying as though he isn't and wasn't, isn't, we can talk about in a second, but wasn't president. Like when he would tweet that it was someone else doing it. It wasn't the president of the United States of America. It was just the reality show Carnival Barker. You don't have to take his words seriously, despite him being a duly elected president of the United States of America. It's just not something to take serious when he's saying these things. He just says, I'm a wartime president, off the cuff. He just says, this is an invasion. He's just talking shit the whole time. These are all euphemisms. I don't know. Maybe they are, but probably not. And if they're not, then we have to at least account for the possibility that they're not and what he actually means in that scenario.
Well, I'm pretty sure, and I just found this recently too, but Trump's own Department of Justice argued in court that his like Twitter posts were official presidential statements. Like everything that he says is official presidential statements. Let's see if I can find the actual thing.
There was also, I don't know if I sent it to you guys this week. I think I might have, but there was a video clip that was posted from Tucker's like documentary series that shows Donald Trump sitting around a table with a group of his advisors figuring out exactly what to tweet. It's like they're in video. Did you guys see that?
When was this?
I can find it. I'll find it.
Because that's like the Colonel McGregor transcript interview that he did for the J6 committee. Do you remember that?
Was that McGregor?
Or not McGregor.
Keith Kellogg.
Kellogg, yep.
Oh, okay. Yes, I remember that.
Yeah, because that describes what he says. But here's that part I was talking about. Patrick, do you want to read this?
I surely do. John Harold on Twitter 2017, Trump's DOJ argued that his posts were official presidential statements. So what does that mean for his cease and desist posts?
Or anything he says. But here's the argument.
Nothing in the statements upon which plaintiffs rely constitutes a waiver of the GLOMAR responses of ODNI, the CIA, NSA, or the FBI to items 2 and 3 of plaintiffs' FOIA request. The court has asked broadly about the official status of the president's tweets, asking the parties to provide insight on the president's tweets and what they are, how official they are. Are they statements of the White House and the president? In answer to the court's question, the government is treating the president's statements to which plaintiffs point, whether by tweet, speech, or interview, as official statements of the president of the United States. The key point, however, is that regardless of the medium, none of those statements matches the information plaintiff is seeking. Accordingly, the statements cannot constitute a waiver of the GLOMAR responses that ODNI, CIA, NSA, and FBI have provided to items 2 and 3 of plaintiff's request.
And there's a link in there too. If I remember, I can post this in the chat. Because did we even tell everybody that we're not doing this live right now? I don't think we did.
No, we didn't.
Remember to go on and post this link in the chat while we're doing it. But hit that thumbs up, everybody. By the way,
thumbs up. Get us #1 on the leaderboard, even though we're recording, not live. You know, I think the fact that the sun is in my face might be a dead giveaway.
Yeah,
this isn't live, but who knows?
It's not very sunny here. Did you find that, Chris?
Yes, sir. You ready for it?
Yep. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, I thought it was going to jump right on the screen.
She's talking about how great San Francisco was before she destroyed it. A lot of talk about childhood. We've got to get to the border, inflation, and crime.
He's not proposing a single policy, not one policy proposal.
Harris's biography won't lower your prices at the grocery store.
Or at the pump.
Out there putting veterans out on the street, so
33,000 homeless veterans. Country. Okay, say these out. The things of which she complains. The things of which she complains.
That's during a debate recently?
Yeah.
Tulsi Gabbard was there, and then Jason Miller was there. I thought he bailed because of what do you get her? And then I saw, who was the hot blonde typing it for him?
That's Natalie. I can't remember her name. She used to be on OAN, I think.
Okay. Tulsi Gabbard was just sitting in the hotel room with Donald Trump. She's part of the inner circle now.
Yeah. That's interesting, though. I mean, that's definitely much more recent. And the thing that Kellogg was referring to was probably similar in nature to what we just saw, but that was back when he was actually in the White House. Man, that's interesting. Love that.
Yeah, that's like that's video of essentially the scenario that was described in his testimony.
Yeah, very much so. Interesting. Except, you know, the stuff during the debates is much more like fast pace, and they're trying to respond in real time to the bullshit Kamala Harris was saying, where, you know, it's probably a little more, I don't know, less stressful, less fast paced when they were doing it back in the White House, not during live debates. But anyway, do you have that Elon clip from?
Yeah, let's do it.
You don't have to make a phone. That's a real, that's a lot of work. The idea of making a phone makes me want to die. But if we have to make a phone, we will, but we will aspire not to make a phone. You know, I do think that the various companies and, you know, Apple and Google Android and whatnot, you know, they need to make sure they don't have a heavy hand in like the App Store and whatnot, or they will create a forcing function for there to be a competitor. But man, I dread the idea of making a phone. But if that turns out to be necessary, we'll do it. But hopefully, it is not necessary. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, you know, call me a conspiracy theorist. I'm going to propose something. This makes me think of that committee sort of thing. And I've been thinking about this. It's just kind of rattled around in my head since the Trump speech where he announced he was going to be running again. It seemed like there was some level of frustration in Donald Trump at that point that like, oh, we have to go through this again, apparently, because this hasn't progressed to the point it needs to progress to. You know, people can get upset or think I'm crazy or whatever. I don't believe this is a real campaign leading up to a real election. I believe that this is a long-term public relations campaign. If elections were real, the only thing that would matter would be a battle of narratives, and the election results would reflect the winner. What was that? The only thing, the results would reflect the winner of the battle of narratives. And if elections are fake, then they can only be a battle of narratives and what can pass muster in the court of public opinion. And so, you know, if you're Donald Trump and you get through that 4 years of your job, and listen, I am not suggesting in any way that Donald Trump is not down for the fight and doesn't want to do this and continue serving the country, just to be clear about that. But it's also possible that under the committee theory of things, that he's not making all of these decisions and that someone actually told him, hey, you know what? We're going to have to do this whole fake campaign thing. These communists will not relent. They somehow believe they can still pull this thing off. They're going to do X, Y, Z that we can't have happen. We are this backstop. We need you to stand up there and we need you to conduct another fake campaign. We're not going to have to go through the whole thing because, of course, it's all fake. He didn't participate in the primary process. He wasn't campaigning. He wasn't debating. You know, he was just continuing to go out and give speeches and give rallies. And if that's what's happening and a committee is making these sorts of decisions, Elon's frustration here, his reaction here seems to reflect that same sort of idea. Do we really have to get to the point where the tech companies are not going to relent and go along with what they need to do? You know, Trump had comments on the PBD podcast just a couple of days ago about Apple. We can check those comments out. I think that maps onto this understanding. But imagine, for instance, that they kept manipulating Apple and the Android platform, which virtually everybody has one of the two. And then there needs to be another whole thing set up and people need to onboard themselves to that phone, however long that process takes. That, I imagine, would be a frustrating waste of time in the minds of people who think that we can and should already be past this. And I don't know. I just have a feeling that maybe the reason this process is taking so long is how desperately people are grasping to the old system.
Yeah, that's an interesting way to look at this, and this is the way that I've described devolution for, I mean, pretty much since the beginning. You know, Trump devolved his own authority, right? And so, by definition, at least that's what I think happened. By that definition, he no longer has that authority. Okay, we've said he's been serving an advisory role, so he isn't the one making the decisions. He's advising on those decisions, and then. Even another context to this is the Q. Like, how many times have people said like Trump was asked to run, and Q, like whoever's running Q or whatever behind the scenes, they're the ones that have been doing it for years, fighting this battle for years. They're the ones in control. If Trump was asked to run then, and they come and be like, yeah, you have to do it again, like that maps onto that reality too, or interpretation, not reality, you know, whatever. That's an interesting way to look at this, because there's been so many times where Trump does appear very frustrated by having to like. To do things. Even the night that they stole the election, November 3rd of 2020, he comes out, he just looked pissed. He's like, God, I can't believe they did it. Now we're gonna have to go down this road.
You know something, that there's a lot to that, John. Every bit of this framework that Chris is describing also is predicated upon the notion that Donald Trump and the good guys have the ability to know the public sentiment within a 1/10 of a percentage point. They know it very, very granularly.
All the time.
Yes. And they don't know it because they're polling them. They know it because they have the internet, and they know where the internet leads back to people's homes, and they're able to categorize every single human being on earth. It's the most robust intelligence platform the world has ever known, and it is not available to us, but it is available to them, and they know exactly how many people are supporting Trump, which is why when Donald Trump goes to the Al Smith dinner and says, I think it's about 75%, I take that as disclosure.
Yeah,
I
would agree with that. And I've also, you know, like way back when I first started the series, my mindset was, I think this is going to be wrapped up before the midterms, because I can't imagine Trump putting us through another another election, stolen election like this. And I'd say it's, well, he's much more patient than I am, but maybe we just weren't ready. And maybe there isn't like, maybe the plan is more flexible in terms of we need to wait until a certain number of people are awake. And if that number isn't there, then we keep going and we get the hose again. Like we've been saying might happen this upcoming election, which we still need to do a show at some point where we discuss the possibilities for this upcoming election. I think that'd be maybe next weekend we do that on the show. But that maps onto a lot of what we see happening, Chris, what you said there.
Yeah, man. And I think that the takeaway from this, I did an episode called Demand Better, Get Better, like in, I don't know, 6 or 7 months ago, something like that. And the point being that exactly what Patrick just said, if they have all the data and they're reading that data and analyzing that data and trying to move forward with the public's consent, which is the only way any of this could actually be moral. So I do believe that that is what they are doing. Then it actually is our responsibility to say, yes, we get this. Yes, we need to move forward. Yes, we must demand better, rather than defending at all costs. Like this morning. So Burning Bright last night got canceled, or not canceled, sorry. Burning Bright got censored on Twitter for calling Kamala Harris a whore. And it was in the context of a joke that he was making. The whole post was tongue in cheek. And that was taken down as hateful conduct. So
it was put into limited view, and
okay.
If anybody wants to see it, they can't.
They can't.
It's limited to limited view only, limited only to Burning Bright himself, essentially.
Yeah. So okay, I thought you were going to say you could just click on it and open it up. Can you can see it, John? Oh, that's Burning Bright's post.
Yeah, he screenshotted it.
He must have deleted it.
I don't think
or it's
so.
just not, or it's just not visible.
You're just not gonna be able to see it. Look, I've said many things that got me put into limited state, and it works like this. It's there. You don't get banned. You don't get strikes. Nobody can see it though.
Yeah. I look at this and it's his post here. It's some weak noodle dicking, free speech unless you say something funny that could be construed as mean, of course. Like Twitter isn't reading the post to see if it's funny. It's probably just got the word. If you say whore, you get the post doesn't go through. Like that's it's as
why
simple
you
as
should
that.
go with strumpet, or possibly harlot, or the modern sex worker. Any one of those will work.
Modern Jenna Ellis, yeah.
But you also have to add that standard applies to certain individuals the way it doesn't apply to other people, because there are horrific things said on Twitter. Stuff is said on Twitter that is harder than anything I ever said. And I got banned for 2 years. And when I was back for 15 months, I was suspended probably 12 times. And now they've allowed my account to be taken away after I had deactivated it, and I can't get it back because they say I can't prove that it was mine, which is crazy. But the point I was going to make is the more we repeat what they tell us, like Twitter is a free speech platform, and we're like, yes, Twitter is a free speech platform. We are not demanding better and not getting better because we don't deserve better. Because we are just saying, yes, we will grovel and take whatever crumbs you throw at us. And if they are actually monitoring public sentiment at the granular level we are talking about, then it does behoove us to actually stand up for principles and stuff like this and say, no, actually, it's not okay to censor that comment, which is harmless.
Yeah. Well, and regardless, free speech, you should be able to say whatever you want. And it's up to people to interpret whether or not they agree or whatever.
And Kamala Harris is in fact a whore.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, that's not even like a controversial thing.
I know. You take it to her and she'll go, I know, I kind of am a whore.
I do have another clip from Elon talking that I thought was interesting. I want to play this.
Natalie Harp.
Why haven't they announced who the pipe armor is?
Well, maybe he's a federal employee. Maybe. Maybe.
Clear on Twitter.
some detectives on Twitter, I think, were pretty clear that it was obvious who it was.
Well,
can't they just tell the truth?
Yeah, I mean, well, I think if President Trump is elected, we're going to get to the bottom of a lot of these things. You know.
Great.
So I think it's going to be like massive data dump, and then have at it. Take a look at all the information. You know. So yeah. So I mean, maybe there's an innocent. Maybe there's an innocent explanation. Maybe there isn't. And let's find out.
So that sounds to me like a leverage point. Like if they mess with things on November 5th, then they're just going to let fly. And that's wonderful. You know, if we have to just suck it up and take it till November 5th, I'm down with that. I've been down with that for 4 years. All right. But being down with that is premised on the fact that that's going to happen. And if that doesn't happen, it's like we can no longer be down with these things and make excuses for these things. And if this is all set into a plan, right? I make jokes about nothing can stop what is coming. Nothing can stop what is coming unless a few of us don't go down and push buttons on an iPad attached to a black box at our local elementary school cafeteria. You know, that doesn't make any sense. If nothing can stop what is coming, then we know that the guns of Navarone are moving in, right? The cavalry is coming. So if that's the case, it behooves us to actually stand for principles so that when they are blasting away, we are actually in the right stance on all of these issues, and that it doesn't require us just making excuses all the time about, oh, it's a free speech platform. No, it's not. No, it's not. All good. I still like Elon. I still like Trump, but we should be honest about what direction we're being censored from at this point.
But do we know what direction we're being censored from?
You got to assume that the regime doesn't have control over that. Why wouldn't Elon be saying, yeah, there's still problems with Twitter? There are people who never got their original accounts back. What is the excuse for that?
I haven't. I was
now
I have Egono's one.
Yeah.
And there's people making 75 grand, which I think is an understatement, a year on there because they were lucky enough to get a few Twitter retweets when everybody else wasn't even on the platform yet. And yeah, we talked about this a little bit on the Liberty Den last week. I don't remember the context of it, but like I refuse to just suck Elon's dick on Twitter just to get a retweet to get money. Like,
wait a minute, sucking Elon's dick on Twitter is an option? I didn't even know that.
Well, you respond to everything he says with "All hail Elon! I love this. Thank you, SpaceX. Thank you, Twitter." All these things, and eventually you'll get like a retweet or enough views to get monetized and all these things. But that's a tactic people do. Like if you go follow what's that guy's name? Shit, I'll find it. But there's like a 10, 15, 20, 30 people that, you know, they're in the private group chats. They all share each other on there. The terribles of the world. The is it Costello or something?
I always retweet you, John.
Yeah, well, that's because everything I say is really cool. But these people, like,
great.
They will respond to every single one of his posts with, "Oh, that's awesome!" Just because they get the views in the replies, being in Elon's thread, and then eventually they get retweeted. They retweet each other, and all these people are making thousands and thousands of dollars. That's not free speech. That's just a circle jerk.
We don't qualify for monetization yet on Twitter yet.
Not Badlands. Like I've qualified, but I'm getting $40 a month or something.
Oh wow.
Okay. That's kick ass.
I was never allowed to do that. I was also never allowed to accept subscriptions.
Well,
so
I
people
can't
couldn't even give me their money if they wanted.
Well, here, let me show you. Well, let me make sure I'm not doxing myself in any way by doing this.
Every time you think about doing this, you end up doxing yourself. Just don't do it.
Well,
dox. All right, let's see.
I mean, I'm already out there, but so my subscriptions has been pending since the day that they released this feature. I applied. It's still pending.
Same.
Okay, but then this is
account is gone. But
this is my my Twitter monetization stuff. Like,
wow, that really sucks. All right, so $40 a month ish.
Well, $40 every. This is 2 weeks, so about $100 a month.
Hey, Big Papa. But what are we? So how many followers do you have? We could probably extrapolate the Kaneko the Great crap and see if 75K per year is accurate.
Well, I can show you. They have
because I think you're up to like what, 75,000 followers?
I have 78.1.
Okay, so let's just for fun call that 80, and because Kaneko the Great has something like 800,000 followers, so we're just going to 10x. And if you have $80 a month, 80 times 12 is 720. Wait, 80 times 12, it's 800 plus 106, so 960. So 9,600 would be 10x.
I don't know. This is like the 3-month analytics or whatever. But
I don't care about any of that.
Yeah, I just, I'm not of the mindset where I'm trying to make money on Twitter, and I think that most of the people in Badlands are the same way. Like, we're not just going to come out here to tweet just for the sake of
give me a break.
Tweeting. Yeah, but anyway, this is kind of a complete tangent. Then
a little bit. See, we are one of the only actually independent news organizations out there. People who just consume alternative media probably don't appreciate the extent to which their preferred independent media figures have taken the ticket in one way or another. Like the Ian Miles Chongs of the world, these people who somehow inexplicably have an inside track to be one of the voices that everybody listens to in the alternative world. And what we're doing here when we analyze this stuff is try to figure out what are the nuts and bolts of the creation of figures like this. These quasi-anonymous people who are massively promoted on the platform. I'm talking about a Dom Luker. You know the names I'm talking about here. These people who are super based and red-pilled, and they just kind of popped into the picture after the stolen election.
Yeah. Is there like a plane taking off outside of one of your windows?
Not mine, probably Chris's.
I think there's a weed whacker or something similar.
Gotcha.
Outside.
Anyway,
sounds like some landscaping.
I do want to show another post here, but Patrick, do you want to plug your little?
I want to plug my big tulipblooms.shop. Check this out, guys.
At Tulip Blooms, we believe in more than just skincare. We believe in freedom. We believe in natural products made by Americans for Americans, using nature's finest ingredients to help you feel your best, naturally. Each Tulip Blooms product is carefully crafted with pure organic ingredients, no chemicals, no compromises, just clean, natural skincare you can trust. Our mission? To support your well-being while standing for the values that make this country great. We know what matters to you: freedom, family, and a healthy way of life. That's why every purchase at tulipblooms.shop supports American jobs and a brand that values your freedom. Join the movement. Support a company that believes what you believe in. Visit tulipblooms.shop today. Tulip Blooms, natural skincare for patriots.
And free shipping until November 2nd. Use promo code Badlands for 10% off. And that money supports Badlanders' salaries, 25% of it. So check it out, tulipblooms.shop.
Awesome. I also want to plug real quick a new merch line we just launched on Wednesday. So check this out.
Hey there, Badlanders. Do you love Badlands as much as you hate communism? Do you want patriotic apparel that's not made in China, but also won't make you look like a dork? Well, then we've got just the thing for you. Introducing an entirely new line of official Badlands gear made in partnership with the culture warriors at Rise Attire and Rise INTL. With 4 brand new collections of original artwork across a wide range of products to choose from. Spread the signal with deep cut symbols from Devolution lore to the ghosts in the machine on the front lines of the Psy War. Wrap yourself in America the Beautiful with the warm tones and textures of Badlands National Park. To the eye of the storm in Mount Rushmore. This is premium quality streetwear, custom made to order from scratch just for you by the Patriots at our East Peoria, Illinois facility. Don't wait. Explore the entire store and order your new gear today at badlandsmedia.tv/rise. Represent Badlands boldly and proudly. This culture war ain't gonna win itself.
Who did that voiceover? That was really good.
I don't know. Might have been AI even. I honestly, I'll have to ask.
If AI has gotten that advanced, I'm fucked.
Well, dude, did you see that? It wasn't in our group chat that somebody shared an AI trailer for Lord of the Rings, and it was like,
yeah,
an AI trailer for the fall of Gondolin from the Silmarillion, and it blew me away. And apparently, it was 100% AI produced.
you know, we'll play that at the end as like part of our outro because I do think it's pretty badass. But yeah, badlandsmedia.tv/rise. Get your new merch. They did a great job. And also their products tend to be a little more slim fit. So if you're like between sizes, I would recommend you order the size up. We got a couple Badlands boosts, but I also just want, let's do this quick. First of all, Thomas Time says, I agree with Patrick. I want 11.5 to be a red wave, but if a cheat is going to occur, why not have a foreign leader who endorsed Kamala be the one to hack the elections? Putin. Can you imagine the mental gymnastics that Dems would have to go through?
I like it, yeah. But I mean, who would that foreign leader need to be? And John, did you want to share that boost on the screen, or are you just reading it word for word?
I just read it.
Okay, cool.
To get your feedback. But speaking of that, after this story, I have two more boosts, but we should talk about this real quick. The British Labour Party sending staff to campaign for Kamala.
Good grief.
But I do have a couple more.
How is that not illegal?
Well, it should be.
Okay.
It's foreign interference. But real quick, another one for you, Patrick. SpaceX astronaut Jared Isaacman claims to have achieved 869 miles, roughly 3 times the altitude of the International Space Station, the furthest a human has traveled since the Apollo missions. Patrick, how far is the moon?
The moon is mysterious. The moon is not a rock floating in a vacuum. So I don't know how far it is, but it's definitely not what they describe.
Okay. And then from Jen Lawrence, and this one I think we may have read last weekend, but I'm going to read it again because it's relevant. John or BB, any word about adding more tickets to Myrtle Beach as mentioned on the Liberty Den? There are 2 available in the Guard 5 group, but as a set, and I only need 1. We completely sold out of our full weekend passes for the event. All 300 of them are gone. For Saturday and Sunday, we were able to get some more room at the venue. So we have individual single day tickets for Saturday and Sunday, or you can buy them as a pair on our website. It's going to be our biggest start yet, badlandsmedia.tv/events. If you can't attend in person, I would recommend you get your virtual ticket here soon. We're going to be doing some exclusive live stream events coming up. So check that out. Yeah, I'm excited for Myrtle Beach. It's going to be big. That's what she said.
That is what she said.
Awesome. Okay. Yeah. Let's real quick do this story and then we can get into a couple other things. But yeah, the Labour Party, Patrick, is sending some people to campaign for Kamala. You want to read a little bit of this?
Yeah. The head of operations of the leftist British Labour Party, which is now in government after 14 years of being in the opposition, declared in a LinkedIn post that she is organizing a party of 100 staff members to be sent to swing states in the U.S. to campaign for Kamala Harris, prompting charges of election interference. This is just beyond the pale, dude. I mean, fine, 100 staff members, but those 100 staff members are trained color revolution operatives. So,
yes. But what blows my mind is like, why would they need people from another country, another party to come in and do this? They got to have plenty of people here willing to do that. But this is literally like another country fighting on behalf of Kamala Harris against Trump, who's fighting for, MAGA, Make America Great Again. This is fascinating.
Yeah, every single one of those 100 people needs to be immediately detained and imprisoned as spies.
That's probably exactly what they're doing. And I would imagine that they're going to be considered international observers who can report back to the UN about election problems. John, can we throw the link I just added a second ago? We are not, and this might be the reason why we're hearing these stories, to be honest, but these are things that the United States does and does often. They send members of the intelligence community, members of the State Department, various agencies and NGOs, and even election fraud superheroes like Stacey Abrams to go interfere in other countries' elections. So this was 2023 going over as an international observer to Nigeria. Yeah,
Good
man.
God.
Laura Loomer. So Marjorie Taylor Greene put this stuff out there the other day about the British coming to invade our elections. And Laura Loomer actually was going off on MTG for spreading disinformation because apparently it's totally legal to do that. So I guess it's upsetting to be mad about it. I don't know. I think Laura Loomer doesn't like Marjorie Taylor Greene for Israel war stuff or whatever. I don't know.
So Laura Loomer is upset at Marjorie Taylor Greene.
No, she took an angry tone at MTG, but I think that she was just saying all of this activity, the Labor Party members coming over to do whatever they're doing in our elections campaign for Kamala, et cetera, is actually legal. Now, she might be right that it's legal. I haven't looked into it, but regardless, it's foreign interference, whether or not it's legal. And the most important thing is it shouldn't be legal. The idea that something is a law and therefore we shouldn't be upset about it being done is absolutely nuts. Like, it is legal is not a response to something like that. And the crazy thing is we're told that if the laws are bad and enough people decide they're bad, then they will vote. And through voting, the act of voting, the laws can eventually be changed. But until then, we just have to follow the law. And it's like, I don't know, man, it's part of our historic tradition. It's part of some people's religious traditions that law is above everything. That's crazy. Like, the moral stand should be above everything. And in a world with fake elections, all of those excuses fall flat on their faces.
Oh, yes. And I got to be honest with you, dude, even if the elections are real, it is not legitimate for a majority vote to do the vast majority of the things that are being done by the government.
Here's the post. So
the things that are being done by the government at this point, by the way, were things that were expressly forbidden in the Constitution until it was turned on its head after the Civil War.
Yep, exactly so. All righty. Laura Loomer on Twitter. Hi, Rep MTG. As a member of Congress, you should really know the law better. It's kind of embarrassing how stupid you are that you aren't aware of the fact that foreign nationals can participate in uncompensated campaign activities. Remember how you had a foreign national living with you inside your house and working on your campaign, doing all of your dirty work?
That's
sure
Milo.
what.
That's Milo Yiannopoulos she's referring to, by the way.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Oh, my.
Interesting.
Not sure what FEC law you're referencing, but it doesn't exist. Once again, MTG spews misinformation and makes MAGA look bad because she doesn't understand the law. Republicans could do this too, but MTG is too busy pretending like she's an expert on something she is wrong about in an effort to appear smart. She's just so dumb, and this proves it. What a massive liability to President Trump she is.
And what's hilarious about this is Laura Loomer definitely found this from some other account on Twitter and just passed it off as if she knew it the whole time, because that's what Laura Loomer does.
Yeah, she's a freaking lunatic, man.
But could you imagine if like Putin sent a team of people to come be uncompensated campaign volunteers on Trump's behalf, like how the left would freak out? I mean, I think it'd be hilarious to see, but this shouldn't be legal if it is. Like, get these people out of our campaign activities.
We have 80 members of Congress who are dual citizens with Israel.
Also should be illegal.
Yeah, Laura Loomer's for that.
Citizenship should be illegal. You shouldn't be able to be a citizen of more than one country, period.
You think Laura Loomer's for that, Chris, you said?
Well, she's been like rabidly Israel simping for the last year, so I would assume so. Let's go. Can we just see MTG's tweet that upset her? It's got to be just down there, right?
Right here.
Oh, breaking FEC laws. So Loomer is saying, and by the way, this could be kayfabe between the two of them to create this fight, make it go viral because they're fighting, and then everybody sees, oh, wait, this is actually legal.
Fair point. Very good strategy if it's true.
I mean, Laura Loomer's not dumb. People hate her, but she's definitely not dumb.
Hello, UK Labour. You are breaking FEC laws. Foreign nationals are not allowed to be involved in any way in US elections. Please go back to the UK and fix your own mass immigration problems that are ruining your country. See next post for FEC laws.
So,
okay,
what do we have as a community? What do we have as a community note, by the way?
As per FEC, although foreign nationals may not make contributions or expenditures in connection with any federal, state, or local election, an individual who is a foreign national may participate in campaign activities as an uncompensated volunteer.
So Laura Loomer basically amplified a community note while calling MTG stupid. Feels like an op.
Yeah. Speaking of the Israel stuff, there's a couple things I want to point out. So let's look at this one first from Health Ranger.
Okay, so we've all been just biting our nails to find out what Mike Adams was going to do on November 5th. And now he releases us from this tension by posting what he's going to do. Health Ranger on Twitter. I'm preparing to write in Dr. Shiva on my ballot in Texas if Trump does not denounce Israel's genocide. Given Trump's loyalty to the violent Zionists, it looks like Dr. Shiva is going to get my vote.
I don't understand. Like, what has Trump done to? I don't get it. Given Trump's loyal to violent Zionists, is like, is Trump? I felt like Trump has been pretty carefully threading the needle between like not supporting or denouncing Israel in a lot of ways. Like, he'll say some things sometimes, like as he should, but he's not like, I don't know. JD Vance's answer during the debate is like, we'll support an ally, but it's up to Israel to decide how to respond or something. I thought his answer, and I'm totally paraphrasing that, was a good one. But this is like the single issue vote. This reminds me very much of the COVID, like the Tracy Beans. If Trump doesn't denounce the vaccines as bad, then I'm not voting for Trump. This is the Israel version of that.
The first thing to remember is that elections are fake, and that going around screaming about who you're going to vote for as part of your personal identity is the dumbest fucking thing in the world. Watching people do that nonstop online. Oh, I don't know. If he doesn't do this, I'm not voting for Trump. What? Like, you're making, first of all, if you're going to think that voting matters and that it's all real and that elections are going to determine the fate of the world, you're missing the boat, because there are much higher powers at work here than whatever happens with your votes. But this is not something that you just need to go around declaring. If the votes are real, if the country is falling apart and the world is at a point of collapse, and you are getting upset about what people say online, and that's going to dictate you not voting for Donald Trump, like, I don't know what to say, man. It's just virtue signaling.
Yes, it is just virtue signaling. And it's virtue signaling from Health Ranger, who is just a freaking gadfly who goes on InfoWars every now and then. I can't take these people seriously, because I can't take Agent Hicks seriously.
Well, he has
Trump
another
talk.
one here.
Okay, yeah, keep going if you like.
This is a Ted Cruz one, but it's very similar in nature.
Okay, here we go. The redoubtable Mike Adams on Twitter. Voting announcement. I'm so glad he's telling us. I voted for Senator Ted Cruz in the primary, but I can no longer vote for him in the coming election due to his outrageous, immoral, and downright evil support for Israel, a terror regime that murders children on purpose, bombing them in their homes and shooting children in the head. I won't vote for a Democrat, so I guess I'll need to choose or write in somebody else. Any suggestions? Cruz is currently about 3.5 points ahead in the mainstream polls. It's a close race, but I can't morally and ethically support a man who is complicit in mass murder. I don't believe the mass murder. I don't believe the propaganda on either side in that wretched fucking desert. I think that Health Ranger here quoting any poll means that Health Ranger has his head all the way up his ass, and I don't care who he votes for.
I'm with you on that. Let me just to add on to what I just said a minute ago. I am all for people choosing to vote or not vote for any given candidate on whatever issue they really care about. What I'm objecting to is the constant talk about it online and in podcasts, always, as you just mentioned, Patrick, under the assumption that the polls are real and therefore we're actually having a close, real election right now. All of that is nonsense and crazy. And
really
so
just
saying
quoted-
who you're going to vote for online is nuts.
Yeah, he just quoted a poll, dude, like it was real.
Yeah.
He's either an operative or he's a retard. He could be both.
It's also interesting to me, like this guy has talked about, you know, 5th generation warfare and psyops. Like if you search psyops in his Twitter, he has a bunch of stuff on how things are psyops. Like they know this stuff exists, or they pretend to know that this stuff exists and is real, and it's being used against us. We're all over the place. He's talking about InfoWars here, but then it comes to the Israel thing, and it's like, well, this is what's happening here. What we're being told is happening here is definitely real. Trump supported this is definitely real. Whatever the situation is, and they can't think that, well, maybe there's a psyop going off with this too.
Yeah,
like
idiocy. The Israel thing is like where a lot of people like smack into the wall, like face first. And you can kind of understand it in a sense. This is one of the things that, you know, I always talk about the good twin, evil twin paradigm, and you have to look through that lens to be able to try to even discern these things at all. Israel's not just one thing, right? I am super critical of the global proxy state of Israel. Okay. Very critical of them. I'm very critical of the founding of the country and everything that led to it. That doesn't mean that there's not a good twin faction there in whatever that nation is that's grown over the last 80 years. It does exist. There are definitely still good people there, and we can be on the side of those people. Trump can also be on the side of those people. What's important is removing the effect of the global regime from all these nations. You know, we can say that Israel is at the top of the ladder doing all these things around the world, but everybody else in the world who doesn't think it's Israel thinks it's us. So, and of course we think it's Russia, right? Like the normies here think it's Russia. Yeah. The very awake people think it's Israel. Everyone else in the world thinks it's us. It's not about that. It's that the bad thing exists to some degree in every single country, and that's what we need to do away with. And at some point, it actually is possible that the two-state solution is the right thing, no matter how Israel was formed, no matter how Israel has acted for the last 80 years. I mean, we've had some leaders in our movement suggest that what's going on at a very high level is that people are actually figuring out how to divide this stuff up in a just way that will preserve a mutual understanding and peace and relieve some of those past grievances while also putting aside some of them so that we can move forward. And if that's what the fate of Israel and Palestine is and the fate of that area, I don't like the fact that these things are being decided without the input of the people, but I don't know how else they get decided in a very real way. And if that's what's going on, then, I mean, we all have legitimate gripes with all these other countries, just like they have legitimate gripes with us. Maybe some of that is going to have to be put aside for the ability to move forward. I don't know that that's true, but it's an argument that I think is at least a little compelling.
No, I think that's brilliant. The good twin, evil twin thing, when you first said that years ago now, I mean, it clicked on so many levels because it's so true. Like, not any one country is 100% bad. Not any one country is 100% good. Like there's a little bit of both in each. The factions are fighting each other, and Trump is on the side of good. I feel like we are on the side of good with, you know, we try to be. That's what we use our discernment for. But when it comes down to it, it's like the single issue vote. When you also claim to know that psyops and all these other things are going on, you can't claim to know the full picture of anything. Like none of us can. So you do your best to discern, but then to like come out here and like try to, you know, I'm going to not vote for Trump because of this thing when I don't know the full facts of what's going on there. Nobody does. Nobody can. And you don't know the full facts of what Trump is doing behind the scenes. Like it's just retardation, man. I don't get it.
You made an excellent parallel talking about this as parallel to the way they responded to the COVID vaccine.
Yeah.
Donald Trump is guiding a public narrative and making sure that people are eventually led to the right conclusions, at which point he will only say that thing. he is that is like the purpose. He is kind of like this divining rod that helps the public at large find the truth on these things. And people got upset throughout the COVID vaccine period because Donald Trump would say it's not that bad, or he recommends it if you want to get it, or he hears that it's good, or that he saved a lot of lives by getting the vaccine to market, which is different than the vaccine has saved a lot of lives. People get mad at those things. They want him to say the other thing. What do they want him to say? Do they want him to say that Israel is committing genocide? Is that going to lead us to the right place? Or is that going to make everyone run right back to the neocons? Because the truth is, man, the global regime is on both sides of all these wars. You know, the global regime is just as much invested, or was just as much invested, in the Palestine, Hamas, Hezbollah, Iran, Qatar thing as they are in the Israel thing. They're on both sides of it. The people playing at a global level are not, you know, we talk about whether or not these people are even Jews. And that's what it really comes down to, doesn't it? I mean, if they
look more like Ukrainians to me.
Let's just say that there are some people at a very high level that aren't. If they're not, and they say they are secular atheist Jews, is it just a bloodline thing? I mean, I don't know, man. I really don't.
know either.
And there are obviously good people who are Jewish.
Yep.
You can't just oppose all of them because some people in that project are evil. I don't know, man. I don't know why these conversations have to be verboten, you know?
Yeah. I agree.
One of the other things, if they ever do get a two-state solution under the current paradigm, then what we will know for sure, beyond any doubt, is that both of those two states are controlled by Clown World. Until we break the spell of this reserve currency petrodollar that controls all nations, we're going to keep getting more of the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think this is one of those things, along with the Ukraine situation, that we're not going to see resolved till Trump's back in there. You know, and I'm curious. Like, I don't feel as educated as I should be on the Middle East stuff, because there's so much going on in the world. It's hard to be educated on everything. I have my own personal opinions, but I don't know if I'm right in those. I would urge you to listen to Ghost to Base Patrick Henry about what's going on in the Middle East. He's invested like so much time into researching everything going on around there. So anyway, there's a couple more topics I do want to get into before we.
Can I say one more thing about Trump?
Yeah.
People are always focused on the things Trump says and whether or not those things align with what they believe or what they think the community has decided to believe. And then they get upset at him for saying these things. Then on the other side, we have the media constantly saying that Donald Trump lies. And then we have a whole group of people that are worried that Donald Trump isn't who he portrays himself to be, and that at some point after he is reelected in a real election, he will become like the Antichrist or something evil. Donald Trump has led tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions of people tens of millions, certainly in the country, perhaps hundreds of millions of people around the world, straight in the direction of truth for 9 straight years, triggering the greatest mass awakening that we could possibly imagine in our lives. He is a catalyst for truth, even when he's saying things that are wrong, because everyone will go out and try to dissect those things and figure out exactly what it is he means. And through doing that, the argument is had publicly, and we end up working our way toward truth. Donald Trump is trying to communicate a situation, and he is causing the two bad sides to destroy one another in doing so. Israel looks like genocidal warmongers. Almost everybody can understand that, except for the worst Israel simps or anyone who is like read in on a level we can't imagine, right? On the other side, they're all making themselves look like they are terrorist sympathizers. You know, we saw the same people totally support Zelensky in Ukraine. So I don't know, man. You got to let Donald Trump work. That doesn't give an excuse to anyone else. Trump is different because he's probably one of the greatest catalysts for truth the world has ever known.
100%. I totally agree. And I think this is interesting. Look at this. So, and I don't know how much weight we can put into this Twitter account, but the BRICS News, BRICS Info, they seem to be pretty good and pretty accurate. Don't know who runs it, but they had this post the other day. President Putin says he's ready to help bring peace to the situation between Iran and Israel. And not even, what is this? Yeah, not even like 9 hours later, they have another one. Trump, same thing. Trump tells Muslim voters he's going to bring peace in the Middle East.
Wonderful.
Interesting.
You know, we have more events this week. The Yahya Sinwar reported death. Nobody had seen him for a year. By the way, to be clear, this is a rerun of the Osama bin Laden killing, reported killing. People thought bin Laden was dead since 1998, and he was blamed for 9/11. Is there any reason to believe Osama bin Laden was necessary for 9/11? I don't see one. Obama.
Interesting.
Obama goes out and interrupts Game 7 of the Eastern Conference NBA Finals with LeBron James playing on the Miami Heat to tell us that Osama bin Laden has been taken out. And, you know, we had a long discussion on Badlands Story Hour doing Zero Dark 30. Now we have this situation. Yahya Sinwar hasn't been seen in a year. Kamala Harris comes out and gives a speech like taking credit for killing Yahya Sinwar. They don't even know if it happened. The video and the pictures, they look ridiculous. And that was supposed to be the predicate for a peace deal, a ceasefire that Biden and Kamala have been pitching for months. The narrative needs them to create that. It's not going to happen. Bibi keeps extending it. These acts that are all seen as real don't need to be happening at all for these narrative elements to be playing out. And so Bibi can just continue to narratively destroy any possibility of a ceasefire, and they get absolutely screwed in the process. And so, you know, man, I don't know, man. It's a really, really difficult thing to understand. I'm doing my best to understand it, but to just assume that all these things are real and they just keep happening. Look at what happened this morning. Here's what was reported this morning.
I also want to play a clip when you're done with this. Remind me about, because Kamala Harris back in March said that it would be a mistake for Israel to go into Rafah, which is where they allegedly killed this guy. And then she comes out celebrating, you know, that they killed the guy.
I didn't even catch that at all. That's fantastic.
Hey, on another note, there was very strong evidence that Qasem Soleimani had been dead for years when they so-called took him out.
Amazing. And so what does it do when they take him out, by the way? They can't use him as a boogeyman anymore in the narrative.
Yeah.
Go ahead, John. Sorry.
But they've used that as an excuse to try to assassinate Trump. Like that's still going on. Like they're still trying to kill Trump because of that. But here's the clip from March, I think.
We have been clear in multiple conversations and in every way that any major military operation in Rafah would be a huge mistake. Let me tell you something. I have studied the maps. There's nowhere for those folks to go. And we're looking at about 1.5 million people in Rafah who are there because they were told to go there, most of them. And so we've been very clear that it would be a mistake to move into Rafah with any type of military operation.
A mistake, but would there be consequences if he does move forward?
Well, we're going to take it one step at a time, but we've been very clear in terms of our perspective on whether or not that should happen.
Are you ruling out that there would be consequences from the United States?
I am ruling out nothing. We
understand nothing. But then is this the clip you're talking about of her
Had to be
coming out taking credit for it? Maybe.
Know this, we will always bring you to justice.
Now, what?
Yeah, she came out and gave like a 3-minute statement after the real fake president had already done that.
Yeah, crazy. Anyway, what were you going to show, Chris?
Look at this. So this is today. So we had the premise for the peace talks, the ceasefire with the Sinwar death. That was what they were going to do the whole time. That's what they needed to do. Take out Sinwar, eliminate Hamas's capabilities, and then get those hostages back. And yeah, people were spazzing out that Gaza's like supporting Israel, saying Gaza's still getting attacked because they haven't released the hostages. Trump told us that they were dead or maybe gone a long time ago, but this is just this morning. Drone hits building near Netanyahu's home in coastal Israel. So look at that. Now he has a premise to keep going. Amazing.
What a shock.
Yeah.
Insane, man. Okay. Anything else on this topic? Because I do want to get to that AI thing and the Space Force thing.
Trump,
Let's do it.
It's kind of out of order, but Trump had some, Trump broke down all he was doing for Israel on the PBD podcast. So people can go check that out. It's around an hour and 2 minutes in.
Is it worth watching?
I mean, it's kind of backtracking from where we were, but we can watch it. I don't think we need to. It's just in response to what Mike Adams was saying. You know, Trump does say, I'll just give it the very brief version. He talked about how he gave Israel the Golan Heights. He gave them Jerusalem by bringing the U.S. embassy to Jerusalem rather than where it was in Tel Aviv. And there were one or two other things that he listed. But in regard to what I was saying before, he gave them the Golan Heights is how he put it. They've wanted that for a long time. He gave it to them. I think that maybe that is in relation to the scenario I was describing. If they are actually setting up a two-state solution, then maybe he applied whatever leverage necessary to work out that deal point.
Interesting. Yeah, check that out, guys. He's been doing so many interviews and stuff. It's like super hard to actually like keep up with all the stuff that he's been doing.
Let me say one more thing. Donald Trump, if we look at this through good twin, evil twin, then we have the regime versus sovereign nationalists wherever they exist around the world, right? Representing the people against the regime. Those are the two sides. It's not Israel versus Palestine. It's not Israel versus anyone. It's those two sides, and those factions exist everywhere. And so if Trump is negotiating, he's not negotiating between Israel and Palestine and himself. He's negotiating on behalf of the sovereign nationalists and people in Israel and Palestine, including himself, against the global regime. Okay, so that is the negotiation that he's actually participating in. And those are the points that he's speaking to. So to then critique him as if he's operating on behalf of the regime because he says nice things about Israel, in my mind, is nuts.
I agree with you, man.
Yeah.
Okay, check this out, Patrick. You're going to love it.
U.S. Space Force awards SpaceX $730 million to launch at least 9 national security missions. It's probable that this is all this headline is true, and that there are plenty of national security missions that involve satellites and communication.
Let's read the article a little bit.
All right, here we go. In this era of great power competition, it is imperative to not leave capability on the ground. SpaceX just added another batch of launches to its already busy manifest. The U.S. Space Force announced on Friday, October 18th, that it has awarded SpaceX $733.6 million in the form of 2 national security space launch Phase 3 Lane 1 launch service task orders. By the way, the article very cleverly put all of that in quotes. Together, the 2 task orders cover 7 launches for the Space Development Agency and 1 mission set for the National Reconnaissance Office, NRO, according to Space Force officials. Quote, in this era of great power competition, it is imperative to not leave capability on the ground. Brigadier General Kristen Panzenhagen, Program Executive Officer for Assured Access to Space, said in an email statement on Friday, quote, the Phase 3 Lane 1 construct allows us to execute launch services more quickly. John, can you scroll down?
Yep.
More quickly for the more risk-tolerant payloads, putting more capabilities on orbit faster in order to support national security, Panzenhagen said.
I want to skip down to this part. I think it's just this last section here.
It does say, however, that the mission set for the NRO which operates the United States' fleet of spy satellites, will launch from California's Vandenberg Space Force Base in the fourth quarter of fiscal year 2025 and the fourth quarter of fiscal year 2026. So the task order apparently covers at least 2 liftoffs. The fiscal year runs from October 1st through September 30th. Oh, okay. So the third quarter of fiscal year is different from third quarter of calendar year.
Yes, but well, the fascinating part to me here is the Space Force working with SpaceX, because Space Force was Trump's baby. A lot of people put a lot of weight into maybe Space Force helped capture election fraud evidence. You know, I've always been like, nah, it's probably Cybercom and NSA. Don't know what that with any certainty. That's just been my opinion, I guess. But Space Force is definitely a big thing. I think, you know, they added it as the 18th intelligence agency. The Biden administration didn't even talk to them when they came in the office. Like, there's a lot of points you can look to with Space Force. Then SpaceX is in the picture. That's the DoD's largest contractor. We've talked about how Elon Musk has maybe given Twitter, allowed to purchase Twitter as part of whatever's going on behind the scenes, the Devolution op. And so I'm not even 100% sure what this has to do with it, if it's actually launches or the spy satellites or whatever. But it's like, okay, we're coming up on an election, and we have a large transfer of funds from a military group to Elon and the SpaceX. Like, there's something here. I don't think the story that they're telling about what the reason is necessarily the reason for it, but it's a connection between the two, and I think that's notable.
No question about it. And I kind of thought Cybercom and Space Force were part of the same basic infrastructure.
They support each other. Like, you can't, you know, Cybercom boosts Space Force's capabilities and Space Force boosts Cybercom's capabilities. At least that's what they said, you know, when I was doing the research for the Devo series.
Is it possible that that some of these sorts of agencies are kind of the mirrored versions of the agencies that existed prior? Like, is Space Force and Cybercom thing? I guess, who was it that we were researching a few months ago? That general that we no, it was before that, and a guy that we've been paying attention to for years, not kind of sure of how to take him. He's got an interesting name. I know you know.
And he was with Space Force? Nakasone?
Yeah, Nakasone. Yeah, no, he's NSA or something, right?
Yeah.
Do you remember the discussions that he was having about creating, I guess, another intelligence agency or something? Some of the videos I had broken down back then, I think this was 6 months ago, but he was talking about wanting to set up a new command. Maybe he was in the process of setting up Cyber Command or making that part of another agency. There was something that made me think, man, it seems like they're doing parallel things here because one of them is spoiled, and so they're setting up a different option.
Well, I think for a while there, he was talking about setting up an artificial intelligence center, and I think they did while he was in there before he left. Like, they were.
That's interesting, especially because I don't know if we still have time to get to it, but that Pentagon article, yeah.
Yeah, well, maybe
or the Intercept article, yeah.
Here, let me show you this. So this was back in. This was May of 23. God, the zoom on this Mac is crazy. October of 23. I can't zoom in on this, but Patrick, maybe I'll send it to you.
Yeah, just
it's a Mac. I don't want to mess this up. So, Patrick, you want to pull this up? And
you bet I do. Doing it right now, I think. All right. Hold for processing. Oh, cripes.
John, just try holding down Command and hitting plus or minus to zoom in or out.
Oh, there we go.
Thank God, because I can't share anything right now.
Okay.
What a friggin' nightmare. All right. National Security Agency to create an artificial intelligence center. In the Associated Press. What's the date on this?
October 2nd, 2023.
Cool. So it's just over a year ago. The National Security Agency is starting an artificial intelligence security center, a crucial mission as AI capabilities are increasingly acquired, developed, and integrated into U.S. defense and intelligence systems, the Army's outgoing director said. Army General Paul Nakasone said the center would be incorporated in the NSA's Cybersecurity Collaboration Center, where it works with private industry and international partners to harden the U.S. defense industrial base against threats from adversaries led by China and Russia. Quote, "We maintain an advantage in AI in the United States today. That AI advantage should not be taken for granted," Nakasone said. September 28th, 2023, at the National Press Club in Washington, D.C., emphasizing the threat from Beijing in particular. Asked if the U.S. has detected either Russia or China trying to influence the 2024 U.S. presidential election, Nakasone said, "We haven't seen that yet." He noted that a number of elections will take place around the world before that, and said the U.S. would work with partners and allies to help deter any such efforts.
Okay,
China
we can probably stop there, but here, one more thing. Nakasone was asked about using AI to automate the analysis of threat vectors and red flag alerts, and he reminded the audience that U.S. intelligence and defense agencies already use AI. That's a key point here when it comes to this next article, Chris.
From The Intercept, the Pentagon wants to use AI to create deepfake internet users.
It's pretty incredible.
Personas.
Yeah, Patrick, we'll do it like we do on Hindsight.
Ah, beautiful. The United States Secretive Special Operations Command is looking for companies to help create deepfake internet users so convincing that neither humans nor computers will be able to detect they are fake, according to a procurement document reviewed by The Intercept. The document specifies that JSOC wants the ability to create online user profiles that, quote, appear to be a unique individual that is recognizable as human but does not exist in the real world, with each featuring multiple expressions and government identification quality photos. In addition to still images of faked people, the document notes that, quote, the solution should include facial and background imagery, facial and background video, and audio layers. And JSOC hopes to be able to generate, quote, selfie video from these fabricated humans. These videos will feature more than fake people. Each deep fake selfie will come with a matching faked background, quote, to create a virtual environment undetectable by social media algorithms, end quote. The Pentagon has already been caught using phony social media users to further its interests in recent years. In 2022, Meta and Twitter removed a propaganda network using faked accounts operated by U.S. Central Command, CENTCOM, including some with profile pictures generated with methods similar to those outlined by JSOC. A 2024 Reuters investigation revealed a Special Operations Command using fake social media users aimed at undermining foreign confidence in China's COVID vaccine.
There's a little more down here. I actually really want to see what the date on that linked document is. It's loading right now, because that would be mind-blowing if it happened right before Elon was announced as the new buyer of Twitter.
Well, this is September of 2022. Pentagon opened sweeping review of clandestine psyops, and it's talking about that story. The takedown in recent years by Twitter and Facebook, more than 150 bogus personas and media sites created in the United States, was disclosed last month by internet researchers at the Stanford Internet Observatory. That's interesting.
And that's, so those are bad actors. Wait, let's go. What's that date again?
So, two officials familiar with the matter said the U.S. CENTCOM is among those whose activities are facing scrutiny. This is September of 2022. So it would have been August of 20. When did Elon?
So it was announced that Elon was going to purchase, I think, in April of 2022. And then in October, I believe, is when he took it over. So this would have been just right before that. That sounds like a limited hangout. And this Intercept article sounds like a limited hangout.
Interesting. The timing on that is fascinating, because this would have been taken down in August, right? They write about it in September, and then Elon takes over in October.
Yeah.
I got to think that hopefully they're trying to build this capability to fight against the staggering number of evil bots there are on Twitter, ruining everybody's lives and controlling the world.
Independent report, the Washington Post has learned that in 2020, Facebook disabled fictitious personas created by CENTCOM to counter disinformation spread by China, suggesting the COVID responsible for COVID-19 was created by a U.S. Army lab in Fort Detrick, Maryland. Weird.
Okay, hang on.
Anyway, sorry.
We have Facebook disabling United States military operations.
Apparently.
Is that accurate?
Yeah.
So you're disabling CENTCOM stuff. Did you know it was CENTCOM stuff? Or what? Because, you know, I know you're running lots of bots yourself, Facebook. Are you mad because the United States military determined that your bots were a threat to U.S. national security?
Well, the reason we covered the story a long time ago, like back when it came out, and the reason it was so interesting is because the Pentagon wasn't aware of these operations going on. Like they were going to order a sweeping review of the psyops that is being done by our military. CENTCOM being one of those is interesting too. I had forgot about that. But let's go back to your article, Chris. Did that link populate with anything interesting?
It did. It was the report from Stanford Internet Observatory and Graphica, and it was from August 24th of 2022.
And isn't Stanford weren't they one of the institutions that was highlighted in the Schellenberger?
Indeed, they were. The Stanford Internet Observatory was there strictly for the purpose of countering disinformation.
I believe that Graphica was mentioned in the Twitter files as well.
Okay.
The listing notes that special operations troops, quote, will use this capability to gather information from public online forums with no further explanation of how these artificial internet users will be used. This more detailed procurement listing shows that the United States pursues the exact same technologies and techniques it condemns in the hands of geopolitical foes. National security officials have long described the state-backed use of deepfakes as an urgent threat. That is, if they are being done by another country. Or our own country, but rogue actors within.
Wait, Chris, go back up.
How far?
Just a little bit to last month, like the very next paragraph of under what? Yeah, okay. Last September, a joint statement. Send me the link. The warned.
Oh, this right here.
Yeah, last week, NSA, FBI, and CISA warned. Can you
Okay.
send me that?
Yeah. Do you want me to just pull it up?
Yeah, maybe pull it up. Okay, and what do they say in this?
Should we just go through the executive summary?
Yeah, and what's the date?
Let me see if I can find one. September 12th, 2023.
Okay.
I'm getting that from the URL.
Contextualizing deepfake threats to organizations. Executive summary. Threats from synthetic media, such as deepfakes, present a growing challenge for all users of modern technology and communications, including national security systems, the Department of Defense, the Defense Industrial Base, and national critical infrastructure owners and operators. As with many technologies, synthetic media techniques can be used for both positive and malicious purposes. While there are limited indications of significant use of synthetic media techniques by malicious state-sponsored actors, the increasing availability and efficiency of synthetic media techniques available to less capable malicious cyber actors indicate these types of techniques will likely increase in frequency and sophistication.
I wonder how long this goes on.
Yeah.
Well,
what do you want to do,
so
John?
hold on for a second. So I'm just thinking here, the timing of this. This is CISA, who we know as bad actors. FBI, not a fan of. NSA, unsure. But Ezra Cohen-Watnick certainly seems to hate Nakasone and what the NSA was doing under him. But I'm just thinking of what they're saying here about deepfakes coming out. Again, this was, what was the date again? September 12th?
September 12th, 2023.
Okay. Just about a week or two after that, we got this from Hillary Clinton.
Look, I mean, the crazy story about me running a child trafficking operation out of a basement of a pizzeria. Don't laugh.
Well, I want to find what she says right before this, because she talks about deepfakes on Kamala. And I wonder if this is it.
There will be concerted efforts to distort and pervert Kamala Harris, who she is, what she stands for, what she's done. I mean, look, I mean, the crazy story about me running a child trafficking operation out of a basement of a pizzeria. Don't laugh. Don't laugh. It was a huge story. And it got one young man in North Carolina to get in his car with his, assault rifle and drive up to liberate these non-existent children and shoot up a pizzeria in Washington. This is dangerous stuff. It starts online, often on the dark web. It migrates. It's picked up by the pro-Trump media. It's then reported on by everybody else, which makes sure it has about 100% coverage. And people believe it. So I don't know what it's going to be, but it will be something, and we'll have to work very, very hard to make sure that it is exposed as the lie that it is.
So these are connected. They have to be. The CISA and them coming out with a warning about like deepfakes and stuff, and then 2 weeks later, Hillary Clinton coming out and saying like, "There's going to be something. I don't know what it's going to be, but like."
Well, what? Wait, wasn't the Hillary thing just from a couple of weeks ago? This is from 2023.
Oh, that's 2023.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought it was September, like 2 weeks before her, like of 2024.
No, sorry.
Okay, so maybe it's not connected, but maybe it is. Who knows? Like,
it's all the same thing, regardless. I mean, this thing's going to develop in stages. Whenever people start talking about it,
oh, hold
on. Should we go back to the Intercept article? There's a couple more interesting things in there.
Well, yes, 1 second, guys. Okay, sorry about that. I think it's super interesting that we look back at what Nakasone said about wanting to create this. Let me share my screen on it here. Nakasone was asked about using AI to automate the analysis of threat vectors. He reminded the audience that the U.S. intelligence and defense agencies already use AI. And then this new recent article about the Pentagon wanting to use AI to create deepfake internet users, something we already believe that they do. Like it's almost like disclosure after the fact, right? Or just disclosure generally.
Well, yeah. And so then is this slow, like soft disclosure, or is it a limited hangout? When it's coming from the Intercept and some of these people, it just, to me, has the ring of limited hangout. Like this is kind of so a limited hangout would be a divulging of enough information because they can't hold it back. Too many people are realizing this for whatever reason. They need to put that piece of information out. They hope that that satisfies everyone, and then they can just shift and move on, imagining that the problem has been taken care of or the problem has been disclosed. This doesn't seem like disclosure to me. This seems like a limited hangout because of the fact that it's not particularly detailed. It talks about this problem as something that is coming in the future, which means that people don't have to worry about this thing. They're thinking about doing it, but they haven't done it yet. I mean, this is probably something that's been going on for 10 years. And I mean, we can pull it back up, and there's some more interesting spots to hit in this article before we conclude. But yeah, that's, and the Intercept was founded by Pierre Omidyar, who's like a major global philanthropist and has just always been super left. They initially started out with Glenn Greenwald and Jeremy Scahill, and those two people didn't seem particularly statist, though both leftist. Scahill now seems more of a statist to me, and it seems like Glenn Greenwald's just part of an op. So whatever. Yeah. It's not what it used to be, is my point.
Yeah, let's go through whatever else you want to do on this, and then we'll wrap up because I know Patrick, you had a hard stop here shortly.
Yeah, okay. So I think we stopped at the COVID vaccine part. There's like 3 more paragraphs.
Listing notes. Oh, sorry.
Oh, did we already go through this? The more detailed procurement? I think we did. Here, let me jump down here. Yes, go ahead.
The offensive use. Okay. The offensive use of this technology by the U.S. would naturally spur its proliferation and normalize it as a tool for all governments. Quote, what's notable about this technology is that it is purely of a deceptive nature, said Heidi Klaff, chief AI scientist at the AI Now Institute. There are no legitimate use cases besides deception, and it is concerning to see the U.S. military lean into a use of a technology they have themselves warned against. This will only embolden other militaries or adversaries to do the same, leading to a society where it is increasingly difficult to ascertain truth from fiction and muddling the geopolitical sphere. All warfare is deception.
Yeah.
This is amazing. Okay.
SOCOM's interest in deepfakes is part of a fundamental tension within the U.S. government. Quote, much of the U.S. government has a strong interest in the public believing that the government consistently puts out truthful, to the best of knowledge, information and is not deliberately deceiving people, he explained. While other branches are tasked with deception, So there is a legitimate concern that the U.S. will be seen as hypocritical. Byman added, I'm also concerned about the impact on domestic trust in government. Will segments of the U.S. people in general become more suspicious of information from the government? Duh.
I can nail down the limited hangout take. Check this out. So whenever I read an article that tells me the name of one of these places, they just named the AI Now Institute. I'm like, okay, well, let me see what the viewpoint of that place is, because that sounds like a dystopian shithole. And here I go to influencewatch.org. Let's have a look here. Here's the AI Now Institute. Patrick, you want to do the honors here? Oh, sorry. There we are. There we are.
There we go. The Institute is fiscally sponsored, is a fiscally sponsored project of Aspiration, a left of center technology advocacy group, and receives funding from numerous prominent left of center grant making foundations, including the Omidyar Network, I see, the Open Society Foundations, and the Ford Foundation.
Isn't that incredible? So his media outlet is reporting on what his AI study NGO is putting out, as though they are quoting them as experts. And then we go on down here as of June 24, I guess we can just do the whole thing, but this is every major not every major. This is a big chunk of the major global philanthropy organizations and major global philanthropists.
The AI Now Institute does not take funding from corporate donors whose practices and products our work is dedicated to examining. As of June 2024, the Institute received funding from the Open Society Foundations, the Ford Foundation, the Mozilla Foundation, the Omidyar Network, and Luminate, which was founded by Pierre Omidyar, who also founded the Omidyar Network. So this one scumbag. Previously, the Institute has received funding from the John D. and Catherine T. MacArthur Foundation, Pivotal Ventures, Microsoft Research, DeepMind, the Ethics and Governance of AI Initiative, and the Alfred P. Sloan Foundation, the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, and the Minderoo Foundation.
Okay, check this out too. Where it got its start. Want to read that right here, Patrick?
Yes. AI Now grew out of a 2016 symposium spearheaded by the Obama White House Office of Science and Technology Policy. The event was led by Meredith Whittaker, the founder of Google's Open Research Group, and Kate Crawford, a principal researcher at Microsoft Research. The event focused on near-term implications of AI in social domains, inequality, labor, ethics, and healthcare.
And the guy who was in charge of Obama's OSTP is Dr. Holdren. If you guys remember, I've written about him.
I do remember him
a few times. He's the guy who first he was the one who they removed the restrictions on gain of function research. That's him, right? Yeah. OSTP issues recommended policy guidance for departmental development of review mechanisms for potential pandemic pathogen care and oversight. So they lifted the moratorium on gain of function research. He's also a guy who, where's it at? He serves as the chairman. Yeah, he works at the CCP connected Tsinghua University with our buddy, Rubenstein.
Yes, the president of the Alfalfa Club.
Yep.
Pierre Omidyar, by the way, this is just from the Wikipedia. In 2010, he joined Bill Gates and Warren Buffett as a signatory of the Giving Pledge and has declared his intention to give away most of his wealth during his lifetime. In 2019, he donated approximately $500 million to charitable causes. In February 2021, his network hosted a series on whistleblowing and is now providing financial support to Facebook whistleblower Frances Haugen. That was another major limited hangout. And this Giving Pledge organization, I believe, is very closely linked to the billionaire who Elon Musk just launched into space a month or so ago for that incredible spacewalk.
Really?
Yep.
Did he come back?
Well, to come back, you have to go somewhere. You're welcome, Patrick.
Thank you, Chris. I appreciate it.
All right. Yeah, man, that's interesting. I'm gonna have to dig a little bit more now into this AI thing. I wonder if we're gonna see some stuff here in the run up to this election, though, like that the left is gonna be like, well, this is a AI deep fake, but are we gonna be able to know?
I will make a prediction. Some people are going to do some things.
That's an interesting spot on prediction. I bet you're right.
I know I'm right. It's going to be amazing.
But speaking of the power of AI, we're going to end by watching the Fall of Gondolin, a fully AI generated trailer.
Guys, it's going to freak you out.
Yeah, but hit that thumbs up, everybody.
Thumbs up.
Share it around with your friends and family. And any other closing thoughts, guys? Otherwise, we'll get out of here.
Fun show, guys. See you next time.
Catch you later.
We have lived in secret for too long. But no wall stands forever. For all its beauty and might, even this city cannot escape the shadow growing beyond our borders. The enemy is coming, and we must now face what we thought we could forever avoid.
We swore to defend this city. And defend it we shall, until our last breath. The time for fear has passed. Now we fight.
Meglin has betrayed us. He's opened the gates to the enemy. We must flee.
Our home is lost, but our people will live.
This is to be our last stand. Let it be a stand worthy of song.
There is always a way out, even in the darkest of hours.
Ulmo has spoken to me. There is still hope, even in the darkest hour. Stand with me, sons and daughters of Gondolin. Fight for your city. Fight for your king. Fight for your freedom.